Hi everybody, so I'm just making a video around what you would have probably seen in the news in the last couple of days around the leasehold reform that have been proposed in relation to flats which are held on leases with ground rents. So in effect, there's some major changes that have been announced that are due to be made into law over the next kind of 12 to 18 months. So it's not going to happen overnight, but I think what is going to happen is going to make major difference to both leaseholders and negatively sometimes for the freeholders who owns them. So I guess this video I want to try and capture some of the key changes that are happening so that you are aware and also make decisions based on those upcoming changes. So let's take a look at them. Well, the first one, the major one, is basically, as you probably know, that when the leases are about to hit below 80 years left, they hit a major milestone, which means that anything that's underneath the 80-year-old year remaining on the lease falls into what we call a marriage value. This means that the freeholder and the leaseholder will calculate what the additional new value will be of that flat if it had a full lease, let's say 125 years. So let's say by giving a new lease at 125 years, the flat will increase in value by £50,000. That £50,000 is the marriage value, and that marriage value has to be split with the freeholder and the leaseholders. So that's quite a significant amount of money that needs to be split. So the leaseholder, or in this case the landlord that owns these leases, will have to then pay the freeholder £25,000. So almost giving the 50% of that marriage value. That's significant. Now you can factor that up to anything between £50,000 to £1 million, depending on the value of these flats. So this is why a lot of landlords or freeholders used to buy these freehold in auctions or even on open market, so that they could actually rely at some point when these lease fall underneath the 80-year milestone, they will be able to then recoup a lot of their investment in the shape of marriage value payments. So going forward in the next 12 to 18 months, what the government now has announced in the next parliamentary session, we're January 21, so I'm assuming it's going to be sometime in 21, 22 that they will pass these laws that will stop them from actually claiming this marriage value on the lease renewals. So in effect, you will not be paying this £25,000 out of the 50 to the freeholder. That whole marriage value will be scrapped. That's huge reform. That's not happened for about 300 years, and quite frankly I think it was about time that it does. I'll give you an example of my own. I've got a flat that I bought 23 years ago. Quite frankly, I just forgot about the leases on there. It dropped, and it's now dropped to 68 years that's remaining. Currently, as we stand, I proposed to the freeholder a discounted marriage value of around £20,000, which I think really they would have come back and asked me for £30,000. So given that this law has now been passed or will be passed, I'm now going to rescind this lease request and wait for the law to be implemented, and by doing that I will save myself almost £30,000. So it's significant amount of money and a significant reform. So that's the first one. So marriage value on lease renewal will be scrapped within the next 12 to 18 months. The second biggest reform proposed at the moment, apart from the marriage value scrappage, is the fact that when you come to renew your lease, currently as we stand, you will normally negotiate for a 90-year extension. So let's say your lease is now 70 years remaining, you negotiate a price to renew that lease, and that price is determined and always contingent on a 90-year extension. So by the time you get your new lease, it will be 70 plus 90. So you'll get a new lease of 160 years. Going forward, once this new reform is implemented, these extension will go from 90-year extension up to 999 years. As long as you request it, of course, and I'm sure everybody will request it, or the solicitors will ask them to request it. So I mean, that's significant. That's basically saying, from a 90-year extension, you now own this pretty much virtual freehold forever with a 990-year extension. So second major change being proposed, which will come into effect over the next 18 months or so, will be that when you come to renew your lease and you extend your lease, you can ask from your freeholder a 999-year lease extension. So that's your second one. The first one was marriage value scrappage. The second one is this new 999-year lease extension. So all in all, I guess I'm hoping this video sets out a very clear message around that if you are in the phase of extending a lease at the moment and you've already served the notice to extend, you might want to rescind that right now, because to complete on that notice that you served to your landlord, you will be adhering to the current rules, which will require you to pay marriage value on the lease extension, as well as only getting 90-year lease. If you don't do that, you pull back the formal request. You might have to pay some abortive cost that's already been incurred, but that will be completely, totally outweighed by not having to pay marriage value, and also also benefiting from a 990-year lease extension. That also helps with mortgages, because the mortgage lenders will not have any issue with you having a 999-year lease, and also not having any ground rent as well. So the ground rent will also be scrapped. So the government proposes to start this with new builds that's currently on the market. So they're going to start asking builders, sellers, not to have ground rent, and also the ground rent that keeps on doubling every 25 years, as well as taking away any 125-year lease, but also giving them the long-term lease with no marriage value ability. So the key takeaway here is, if you are already in negotiation, you might want to pause that negotiation, speak to your solicitor, and see whether either you rescind the contract or the proposed contract, and or you have a negotiation, you have a discussion with the actual freeholder. Say, look, you are aware that the law is going to change. If you were going to pay them, I don't know, £25,000, you might want to renew it on the basis that there's going to be no marriage value. Maybe they are reasonable and they say, oh, you know what, we will work out a fair way of doing it, scrap the marriage value and work out what we think will be worth. The 999-year lease will be worth. If you can come up to a negotiation like that, great. If not, which I suspect a lot of the freeholders will be reluctant to do until the law is formally in place, then hang tight, wait for that law to be passed and then extend the lease. If on the other while, if you are your lease is around the 82, 83 year mark and there is no marriage value at the moment that you have to pay, and the lease extension is reasonable, you feel is reasonable, then maybe you carry on. But I'd question that as well also, because if the law is saying no ground rent going forward, 999-year lease extension and no marriage value, you'd want to have a lease that stipulates this. And as long as you can get those perhaps today, great. If not, wait for a few more months to do that, and then renew on the new terms. Once again, I hope that helps. Check out all my other content on YouTube, so Facebook, Instagram, and if you've got any questions, you can also email me on azid@creditygroup.co.uk. Otherwise, I've written a couple of books that helps people invest in properties. One is called Scale Your Wealth Through Property, and the other one is Grow Your Wealth Through Title Splitting. They're both on Amazon, and you can check out the links in this video as well. Many thanks. I'll see you in the next one.